Welcome to Frances Quilts, the site dedicated to the wonderful art of quilting, with a few other fun things thrown in as well. If you like what you see here, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe so that you can be notified of future videos. Hey guys, welcome back to Frances Quilts. Well, as you can see, I am not in the studio today. I am standing in the Northern Cape of South Africa, and this behind me is the beautiful Kalahari Desert. We are at this particular property, which is about 250,000 acres. It is a huge, huge property. We are at this property because of their concern for an endangered species, that being the black rhino. This property has a thriving population of black rhino. They use them to then furnish to other countries and other national parks and other places, just to try to help the rhino population to continue to grow rather than to get smaller and smaller as it has been. Anyway, part of this time we've been here, we got to be involved in genetic testing on these wonderful creatures. Now, black rhino are angry. They're angry all the time. You cannot get around them unless they have been darted and are out. Basically, you just don't want to be around them. So before, I have a video I want to show you of the work that they were doing up close with the rhino. But before the video starts, what you will not see is the vet, whose name is Charlotte, standing on the skid of a helicopter darting a black rhino. The black rhino goes down, the helicopter lands, and immediately she is out of that copter and she is over starting to take care of the rhino and get him set up for all the testing that's being done. Once he is down, the rest of the crew comes screaming in, and what you're going to see is what happens next.
So here we are, all heading over to the rhino from the trucks, and Charlotte is already in process and already working at this point. She is getting ready to run a reader, a microchip reader, over the rhino's skin just to see if there has been a microchip implanted. Many of these, particularly female rhinos, are purchased from other parks or places like that, so it could have been one that was already chipped and they just wanted to check that. She is in constant contact and communication with Johan here, who has the information about the rhino and keeps all the details. He is the manager of the camp. Now, the first thing that she is going to do is put a notch in one of the ears. She eventually does both ears, but just starting with this one. The notches will help to identify the rhinos for the future, so they can then watch these rhinos from the air. They can see the notches when they're just doing helicopters over. They don't have to get real close to see which rhino this is. So she's put in two hemostats to hold, to stop the bleeding, and now she's just taking a scalpel and cutting a notch out of it. That little chunk of ear will be saved for the genetic testing. She will also, during this time, take a couple of blood samples. Now, these guys are measuring the length of the horn and the circumference of the horn as well, and we'll be giving those numbers back to Johan as well so that he can keep track of all of that.
Linda.
So a lot of stuff is going on at one time. Now, the rhino has an eye covering because their eyes are very, very sensitive. Even though they're out, their eyes are open, and they needed to remove the covering here so that they could measure the second horn. So one of the trackers happily gave up his hat to cover the rhino's eyes. So again, just a bevy of activity as everybody is doing what they are supposed to do.
15 and a half.
I love watching her breathe here. and seeing all the little bits of red dirt that she kicks up with every breath. These are female rhinos that we are dealing with today. It's some of the first genetic testing that they've actually done on the females, and they said that it's very important for the females for nothing to happen to them. So they're having to be very, very careful. The females are the most important animals anytime you are trying to save something from extinction, because the females are the ones that produce all those babies. So they're most important. Have a look at these wonderful feet on this little girl. How would you like to paint those toenails? Now, as they got her on the ground, they could see that she had an infection, probably a urinary tract infection or something along those lines. So it's very good that she was one that was darted today, because they can give her antibiotics, and they give her a lot of antibiotics, which you'll see in a minute.
Can you get that blade in that bag?
So here she is cutting the other notch out of the second ear. She now uses a crystal solution on the ear, places it on the ear, and it helps to stop the bleeding and prevent any infection from the incision that they just did.
Just cut it off, please.
Keeping track of equipment is always a hard thing. We see that in the studio as well. This rhino had a little flap of ear that had gotten torn at some point in time, so they just cut off that extra flap there, so that there wouldn't be any chance of her catching it and hurting it later on.
Sorry? Yes, that's why I want the red books.
She always carries the antibiotics with her for just this sort of situation, and actually 2 of the 4 rhinos that we dealt with, they ended up giving antibiotics to as well. The gentleman shaking the stuff is Quiz. He is the pilot of the helicopter, but he also has some veterinarian training, so he helps Charlotte a lot with the things that she's doing. So you see, there are a bunch of people that have a lot of jobs, and then there's a lot of people that are standing around watching at this point in time. Including my husband Michael taking pictures. If you hear the click, click, click through the whole movie, that's him taking pictures. So there's one.
Linda. Your mom is Linda.
Linda. If you heard them talking about Linda throughout the video, they did name this one Linda. Linda was Charlotte's nanny, who takes care of her little son Daniel, and you see him in the background a little bit too. But so this is Linda. This old girl is definitely going to feel better after she wakes up and has a day with these antibiotics flowing in her system. But 2's not it. They're going to do a 3rd one. And a fourth one.
I think that's
When you're that big, you need a lot of shots.
not possible. 7.5. Well, you would know better, but I mean, with that horn,
These are some of the trackers that work with the
I
rhino.
would have said,
Well, actually, these guys do everything on this property. I've seen them
I would have said yeah, she could be 8 to 10 years.
just doing lots of different jobs.
Yeah, to 80, you are okay. Maybe it can be that size.
Hello, Donna. Nice to see you.
Actually, it looks like maybe they gave her 5 shots of antibiotics. I thought it was just 4. Having to look at her feet just to make sure that she's in good shape. And don't you just love that sound?
Can I give you? Wait.
She's going to feel better when she wakes up.
So at this point, everything's been done, and we are ready to move back to the trucks. You can see everybody is walking back to the truck. I get stuck on a sticky branch right there, but then keep going. So nothing happens now until everybody is in the truck, because when this girl wakes up, she's going to be going 90 miles an hour, and she's going to be mad. So Charlotte sits and waits for the helicopter to give her the little siren that says that he is ready to take off. You can see the truck that we're in is already starting to move away and getting set up to move. So she injects Linda and hightails it back to the helicopter. As soon as she is in and belted in, Quiz takes off and gets off the ground before Linda wakes up. It honestly takes just a little over a minute from the time the injection goes in to when the rhino wakes up. And like I said, the black rhino, they wake up fast. It's kind of hard to see here, but her ears are twitching just a little bit, and she takes a deep breath or two. And then, boom, she's up, she's on her feet, she's looking for something to fight, and she's running away. So we'll say bye to Linda. Live long and prosper, young thing.
It was certainly a very exciting day to see 4 of these animals darted and the genetic materials taken. Well, I know that wasn't about quilting, but I hope you enjoyed it anyway. It was so much fun to be involved with this and to see all the work that's going on, and just to see these amazing animals up close and personal in this way. But next time I'm with you, we'll be back to quilting, I promise. I have some fun things planned as soon as I hit the States, and I can't wait to show them to you. So please come again, and I'll hope to see you very soon on Frances Quilts. Remember, if you like what you've seen, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Please check out my website and daily blog at francesquilts.com, and I can be found on Facebook and Instagram at Frances Quilts. Thanks so much for joining me. Hope to see you again soon.